Hey guys, welcome back. Light Warriors Unleashed podcast. And today, the vibe is going to be different than any of the vibes that I brought forth originally for you guys and all the podcasts that you've heard, listened to. I have a beautiful soul that is on here. She does ministry work, she's written a book. Her name is Michelle, but we are talking and deep diving into the concept today and the conversation of sexual assault, rape, and sex trafficking. And we're getting into the truth of this conversation and the work that she does in the world, her nonprofit that is helping youth move through this energy, those that have been sexually abused. She also does a lot of work in the correctional facility in North Carolina, and just really talking about this is happening in the world. This is something that's going on. This is something that's happening in our backyards. And how do we step into this? How do we see these youth in the perspective that they're leaning into? How do we feel them when we're out in the streets? How do we see this happening in the world and help serve and move this through? And it's part of the light warrior mission, exposing truth. This is a mechanism that's happening, and this may hurt some of your hearts, and this may be a triggering episode, and this may be one of the ones like, I don't want to listen to that because I don't think I can hold that space, or I don't want to know. Well, that ignorance and that energy of you stepping into that and saying no right off the bat without even listening to what we're about to say is why this is happening in the world. And I'm calling you out in boldness in that right now, because of the fact that the only reason that people are getting away with this is because the world is turning a blind eye. And it's enough that we need to step into the space to help these youth, to help these children. Most of them, don't have a voice. They don't know how to say anything. They've grown up in families where they've been abused by family members, where they've been blindfolded. They didn't know how to step into life, and blindfolded meaning like they have never been taught that this isn't okay. So we're exposing it today. We're coming out today to talk about this. It isn't the airy fairy episodes you're used to. We talk about bold energy. I do talk about soul purpose. I do talk about how we move this through when this happens to you, and how do we step in with courage to make decisions in our life to change our lives. But it is definitely not the airy fairy episode. However, Michelle is this beautiful beam of light. Her mission on earth is to help serve these youth and help them move through this and help shine a light brighter in the world. We'll link up all of her socials. You want to reach out to her. She drops a couple websites near the end of if you're seeing this happen, what you can do, things to pay attention to. And we're just going to support in wherever way we can, right? So our mission on earth as light warriors is to step in and speak truth and to move truth through the world and to step in boldly and courageously into our lanes. This is one of them. And Michelle, in her own energy, in her own right, in her own pathway, is doing this for these youth, for these children, for this perspective to shift the narrative. And it's needed right here, right now. So with no further ado, I'd love to introduce you to Michelle, Light Warriors Unleashed podcast. Michelle, I am so excited to have you here today. I know the subject matter we're going to be talking through and talking on isn't like that exciting or fun because of the truth moving through this conversation, but it's part of like the narrative that I think is so important that we as people understand that it's going on in the world, that we're dealing with, that we're moving through. So I'd love for you to just let's just start with like some of your pathway, like how you've gotten to this moment of time in your life, and tell us whatever stories coming up for you now to like want to share about this mission you're on, what this looks like, and whatever else inside of there.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Thank you again for having me on the show on today. Basically, I started on this path with writing my book. It's called I've Been There.
Hmm.
And in this book, I talk about my life. So it's an autobiography. And I talk about some of the things that I went through as a child. I was molested and raped, not by anyone outside the family, it was by family members.
Hmm.
So friend said that I have a powerful testimony about what I've been through, and I share that with several people. So the reason why I named my book I've Been There is because when we have conversations with people, you hear something, you're like, I've been there. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's why it's called that, because it's different aspects of what has happened to me in my life. I'm very open and candid about the what happened as a child all the way up into current. So my friend said, you need to write a book. I decided to write a book. I didn't think I was going to be a book writer. I don't even journal. Like I was in a journal. But anyway, so she talked me into it. She was very persuasive. And so once she's a publisher, her and her husband, they publish books. And so once she
Nice.
went through it and she was like, wow, she said, you have more to tell than I've ever known. I'm like, okay, thank you so much. So this is how I got started with it. I've always loved working with youth. I worked in a school system here in Charlotte for 20 years.
Mm.
And I've substituted, I've been a bus driver, and I've worked in my last position was working in the office as a registrar. And so, of course, I got to meet the students firsthand
Mm.
and talk with them and their parents. I've always loved doing that. I was youth minister in one of my old churches, and I love doing that with them. And the reason why is because as a child, I did not have a voice to talk to anyone. I
Mm.
am the only girl out of 5 children that my mom had. I'm right smack in the middle.
Mm.
And to have my daddy was very strict and abusive verbally and physically to my mother and to us as well as far as being verbally abusive. And so my journey is taking a different path, and I have my conversations now in regards to what happened to me. I
Mm.
talk to the youth with my organization. It's called Unbreakable Faith, and we're a nonprofit organization that caters to youth that have been sexually abused and dealing with trauma. We're mentorship so that we take them in, let them know that we are right beside you. We are going to be that advocate for you. We're going to make sure that you understand that it's not your fault. So those are some of the things that I do.
Mm. Yeah, and it's like I really believe, and this is like the power behind our mission on earth is that, and sometimes it's not easy to swallow the pill, like you said, to be able to step in and write the book and like own that this happened for you. But through that, you're able to now serve other people through those experiences. And you've got the book out and people are coming to you now. I can imagine saying, oh my God, that's me, or I went through that too. And I bet you probably have some people even coming up to you to say to you, wow, like I now have the courage to actually speak out or to step in or to do that because your voice, you stepping into that courage of your voice will help shift others. And I think this
Yeah.
is such a powerful thing, right? So like, and although I'm sure at the beginning you were hesitant, like not even in the part of like, I don't think I can write, or I've never written in a journal or any of the stuff you said, but like in a way of like, do I really want to? And do you feel like you felt that at the time? And how did you move through that? Because I think that there's some really key pieces. And I definitely want to talk about all the you stuff, but really leaning into this, because I think some of the listeners are at this point that they're about to have courage to step in. And maybe some of them have been through something similar to you and they've never said it out loud. So I'd love to just hear how you worked through that.
Yeah, sure. That process, as you said, swallowing that pill is very lightly putting it. It was an elephant, is what it
Hmm.
was.
Yeah, I can imagine. Like that's all I can do, right? Like,
Oh my
yeah.
God. So I'm not a person that does a lot of talking. If we're one-on-one, of course, I'm going to conversate with you, have a great time. I don't consider myself a great speaker or anything. So all those thoughts were traveling back and forth through my
Mm.
mind. And I'm just thinking, okay, I'm getting ready to expose some family members. Ugh. Uh, it was, and then I was like, okay, nobody wants to hear my story. Who want to hear about what happened to me? I mean, all
Mm.
this negativism came running right across my mind.
Mm.
And I'm just like, I can't do this. And then in the middle of the night, I find myself writing something down and I'm still saying, I can't do this. At the same time, I'm writing something down that I remember, but I can't do this. And it's just, I'm just like constantly just battling back and forth. I can't do it.
Yeah.
I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. So if
Mm.
a person is dealing with that today, this is what I say. Take that jump. Take the
Mm.
leap. It's okay. Once you take it, you'll be so glad that you did. I
Mm.
know for years and years, I held that inside of me. I didn't get counseling when that happened to me.
Yeah.
And so today you can offer counseling because what we grew up in growing up was what's in this house stays in this house. Nobody needs to know what's going on in this house. And that's just the way it was.
Yeah.
And so that part of that stayed with inside of me, like, okay, I'm not going to expose anything to anyone. I went through a horrific thing when it actually came out with so many people in my face. And it was just so much negativism as a young
Mm.
child. Here it is, I'm tossed into a world of adulthood, experiencing feelings and emotions that an adult would have. And I'm a child and I'm 3.5, 4, and then at
Oh,
14, I'm getting raped. And I'm just like, it's just so much going on in my mind. I've just been traumatized and I don't want to talk to anybody. What if this happened? What is it? Don't do that. Just take time, step back, breathe a little bit, and ask yourself, will this help someone?
mm.
And the answer, 9 times out of 10, is yes, it's
Yeah.
going to help someone. I did not know how powerful it was going to be to write my book. I
Hmm.
have had all this week, and tomorrow's Friday. I've been on at least 7 podcasts this week
Yeah.
talking about what happened to me. And I've had people DM me and tell me, wow, you're a strong woman.
Mm.
Um, I hear that all the time. How did you have to have counseling? I wish I would have had a lot of things that I did when I was older. I probably wouldn't have done. But it's so important for you just to take a deep breath and ask yourself that question. And then the second thing to do is just start writing. Just like
Yeah.
she told me, it doesn't matter. You don't have to start at the beginning.
Yeah.
Start at the end, start at the middle. It doesn't matter. Just write. All the organization will come in later. And I just
Hmm.
did, that's how I started it. That's how I did it. And I encourage anyone that feels like, you're just a little, look at me. Look at me. I'm telling you, I was that quiet little girl in the corner, very vulnerable, very shy. And look at me today. This could be you. This could be you. Hello. Yes.
I love this. And I feel like we go through that, right? We have this push and pull in our mind and
Yeah.
I can't. And the biggest moves that we make in life, like through that barrier, are where the biggest impact lies. But we need to get over our stuff almost to remember, like what you just said about like serving others. And will someone else be able to change because of this or shift because of this? Because I have the
Mhm.
guts to step in, or I am
Yeah.
like, I'm going to breathe through this
Mm-hmm.
dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as the negative stuff or the things are happening in the world right now, like we were seeing a lot of this move through and a lot of like, let's say the darkness is moving through the world. There's a lot of stuff maneuvering, and sometimes it's hard for us to like look at like God or the universe or like source or divine and be like, well, why is this happening through here too? It's like we sometimes have to go through some of these things in order to be able to help real humanity and really step into this and open this up almost in this conversation. And not that I'm condoning anyone's behavior at all, I'm not, but like the pulse point of like this experience, it happened, and now you're moving through to serve others, right? So you've got this now. Is it a non-for-profit? Is that what it's called, or
Yes. Yeah.
non-for-profit?
It's Unbreakable Faith. We're a nonprofit. Yes.
Yeah, and now
Mm-hmm.
you're serving other kids. Now they have a place to go, a community to be around. And tell us a little bit about that mission, because I think that it's important that people know and understand. And is it in North Carolina as well?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's Unbreakable Faith. And what we do, we cater to the youth ages 12 to 17 that have dealt with sexual abuse, rape, molestation, and also dating violence as well. And we
Mm.
also deal with the young adults, 18 to 22, who are in that situation. It's not just girls, it's males and females that we work
Yeah.
with in our mentorship, which is very unique. There is only one other agency that I am aware of that deals with both the females and the male boys and girls. A
Wow.
lot of times you either target the males or either it's target towards the girls, but I believe that my personal belief in the organization that I have is that we should cater to both
Mm-hmm.
because it happens to both. It has
Yes.
happened and they are traumatized from whatever they're going through. Having a car accident causes trauma.
Yeah.
Um, Fires cause trauma, not only just sexual abuse, but those things that happen cause trauma. We
Mm.
deal with sex trafficking as well. I volunteered in an organization where I was a mentor to girls and helping them out with the coming back to life or working back in society again, if you will, because here it is, you're bound up and in the hands of people who don't really care about you. All they want is the money, and you're their puppet, you're their doll, and they're getting the money and you're in pain.
Yeah.
And so we want to just make sure that we let them know again that, you're safe, you're okay. Like you mentioned earlier, it's not to whatever you go through in life, there is a purpose.
Mm.
If a person, my friend, for an example, my friend, he had his leg amputated um, just a few months ago. He's still going through the process now. But once he's gotten over this process and goes through this struggle that he's in right now, he'll be able to tell someone about what it was like, what he went through, how that happened. I mean, I am a breast cancer survivor as well. I found out I had breast cancer at the age of 25,
Wow.
and that's a young age. And breast cancer does not travel in my family, so it's not hereditary. So
Mm.
I was able to, after having breast cancer and having two mastectomies done, I was able to share with other women who were coming behind me. Listen, this is the process. I can tell you some of the things. You may not go through this, but you may have to deal with this. Whatever you're going through, yes, it's hurtful, it's painful. You are disgusted with it. You don't want to deal with it. Just be gone.
Yeah.
But once you get through it and now you're here, you can look back and say, you know what? I'm gonna tell somebody else this and let them know it's gonna be all right.
Right. And it's a powerful, when we look at life this way, it's like we do go through our stuff and we've got to deal with it in our own way, moving it through, reaching out to people. That's why you created the
Mm-hmm.
community you created, because you didn't have that as a child. And
Mm-hmm.
I definitely want to dive in a little bit more to the sex trafficking side, but I want to dive into the male energy, the men that you're serving, the boys that you're serving within the charity, let's say, or the nonprofit, because I've been finding that over time, and we're watching this happen, that a lot of men are diminishing their voice. They may not be stepping in to their normal masculine pathway and owning the purity of that light within them. If we reference, and I know that you come from a religious background and you used to be in the faith world, and you may still be. I don't know if you're still a minister or not.
I
You are. Okay.
am.
Yeah. So like the purity of what we go back and look at the Bible and actually feel what men represented and how they showed up and how they moved through the world and the purity of that light. We're seeing it really diminished in the world right now. And we're seeing them questioning themselves and who they are. And I love the fact that you have this available for them to move through, because most of the men don't feel like they have support and they don't feel like they can talk about it and move it through. So I get the passion there for you, but I'd love to just hear about what are you seeing move through these younger men in the world? Like what is this? What are they feeling inside of this? How is this showing up for them? Because I think it's important we tap on that today.
Yeah. So with the young guys, the young men, I actually went to a correctional center here, and I talked to the young guys that were in that correctional center. We did a 4-week session, and we talked about sex trafficking, sexual abuse, the trauma, and I found out that these young guys are angry. They're
Mm,
mad. The
mm.
representation, as you said, for men has demolished.
Yeah.
It is like a small portion that they can actually pick from. It's like a basket of strawberries, and you have the big basket of strawberries, but um, now you have maybe 4 or 5 strawberries. So you really don't have too much an option. You
Mm,
got a molded strawberry, and then you have this strawberry look like somebody bit off of it. So now you're down to 3 out of the strawberries, and you're just looking like, never mind. I don't even want the strawberries no more. And so
mm.
this is what they're looking at. And these, you could just tell, and for them to be in a correctional facility, I know a lot of people, I noticed that a lot of people think that when these guys are in there, they deserve it, and this is what happened, you shouldn't have da da da. But let's step back for a minute. These young guys have grown up in a single parent home, whether it's male or female. If it's a female, there's not a male in the home to guide them and talk to them about life circumstances.
Yeah.
If it's a male in a home and he's just a single male, he's working all the time
Yeah.
because he's trying to make sure he provides. And he thinks that's the manly thing, is to work and provide, pay the bills. And that's not it. Our youth are looking for somebody in their face, spend some time with me. Can I talk to you about some of the things that I'm going through without you pounding me and saying that you are dumb, stupid, and crazy? Why are you doing it? This is not what these young guys want to hear.
Yeah.
They want somebody that they can lean on and talk to and say, hey, mom, I got this going on. Or dad, hey, pops, let me talk to you about something that I'm feeling right now. And pops listening and talking to him and say, listen, what a real professional parent conversation like that. I don't know why you think like that. That's stupid. That's not what they want.
Yeah.
And then for them to, how could you tell your parent that you've been touched by your athletic director, let's say, in the
Right.
school? We hear this on the news a lot.
Hmm.
So you go home and now you've been touched by your athletic director. You need to tell someone, and you
Yeah.
think the person that's the closest to you is that parent, male or female,
Hmm.
and you can't, because in the house you're looking around and you see your dad's working all the time. Why put extra pressure on him? That's the thought. The second thing is, if this really comes out, then I'm gay, and
Right.
that's not me. So
Yeah.
I just shut down, shut my mouth, and not say anything at all. If it's your mother and you're like, okay, well, she trusts the director for me to actually go to the practices with them, go to the game, because she has other children she needs to tend to. So that means that she's going to feel guilty about allowing me to go with the director.
Mm.
And again, if I do put it out there, there's going to be a whole lot of buku going on, and
Yeah.
I'm going to be gay. So here
Right.
we got this. So working in that juvenile detention center, volunteering there, like I said, for the 4-week program, we talked about predators and sex trafficking. There was a young man that actually came out in the middle of the session, and he was like, I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about. I know, because my uncle, he came over and he was like, talking to me. He was behind me, talking to me in my ear. And then all of a sudden he was putting his hands in my pants. I was like, oh boy. So at that moment, he was like, and I don't know why I'm even saying this right now. I just gotta let it out.
Yeah.
He only told his mother. And
Wow.
now he's in a correctional facility that he shouldn't be in,
Hmm.
because what he was dealing with was inside of him, the pain and the hurt,
Yeah.
but it came on the outside and he did something wrong.
Yeah.
You're out there. We have to stop and think about what our youth are going through. Don't automatically cast them in the box. This anger that comes out of our children, it is coming from somewhere. It's not always something that needs to be medicated. Maybe
Right.
just talking. And a
Yeah.
little bit of talking would be nice. Get someone to mentor them, do some background checks to make sure that they're not cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, of course, but you want to make sure that your children are in the right place. We have
Yeah.
ministers out here and pastors out here, and we hear that on the news about children, and it is disgusting. Okay, there
Yeah.
is too many people that's willing to give you what you want for free, and they can play house with you, and you
Yeah.
can decide whether you want them, to be an adult or whatever you want behind closed doors. But leave the children alone. Leave them
Yes.
alone. That's where
Thank
I'm at.
you. Yeah.
And so with the organization, like you said, I'm very passionate about that. I talk to these young guys, and I tell them at my last week, I let them know this is what I want you to do for me, because some of them have been transitioned to adult housing. They closed down their
Mm,
program here.
I
And
see.
so some of them are going to adult housing. I know quite a few of them are 16 years old and they've already been charged with murder. So
Wow.
and so now I'm looking at them like, you don't even know what you're getting ready to face in an adult prison. Being
Yeah.
in that society, you're 16 years old, and a justice system says you're considered an adult, but they're not. They're not an
No.
adult. They have no way of trying to defend themselves from an adult that has been already sentenced to life in prison and don't give a boop poo whether or not they kill someone else in the prison, because what they're gonna do? Put you
Yeah.
back in prison? You're in prison. So what are you
Yeah.
gonna do? So
Yeah.
now you have that, and then you also have predators in there. You
Yeah.
have men in there. And so I just think that our judicial system is all messed up.
Yeah.
Our children, you need to have them evaluated to find out what's going on with them before
Yeah.
they get to the point of wanting to commit murder and hurting someone because of the hurt and pain that they're feeling inside of them.
Side them. Yeah. Which leads me into the question I was going to ask you about, like, what do we do to help these youth? Like, how do we as a society, like as one human to another, come together to assist? Because we're watching some of these parents, out there hustling and they're not around. They're trying to make ends meet. They're trying to provide because societies, keeps scaling. Inflation keeps moving. They can barely get food on the table. They're trying to make their houses work. And they're missing this gap with these youth, which it's not faltered on them, and I don't want to judge or hold it on their shoulders, but it is part of their responsibility. But also too, I think us as humans in this experience together on earth, like, how do we help them? How do we help them stay out of jail? How do we help them move through these things? And you've given us some pieces, but I think the question, like, in this tight answer, so that, like, someone listening to this, like, can go maybe make a donation or make, like, talk to some people, whatever it's going to be. And I just love to hear your opinion and your thoughts on this, because you're in the meet with them every day, all the time, and you've seen it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd love to just hear this.
Yeah, so what we encourage people to do, if you're working in executive offices like Wells Fargo, Bank of America,
Mm-hmm.
there is a program in there that you can actually go and volunteer. And
Mm.
you can do that. It can be used as a competition base. You can also use it with sharing. Like for my organization, I have people who have helped me out with from Wells Fargo, and with them coming and volunteering their time with my organization, actually that I get paid from Wells Fargo for them coming. Wells
Right.
Fargo pays me, and so they could do that. You can also go to the school. You can volunteer at the school. They will do a background check on you to make sure that everything is okay. But you can volunteer, even if it's just reading a book to a child that's younger, coming to some of the games. You can go to a lot of nonprofits to see what they are looking for and what they need. United Way, the Boys and Girls Club, they need more help than what you
Mm.
think. You probably think in your mind, oh, they got it, they have the money. Well, even if they have the money, they don't have the people. If they have the people, they don't have enough money. So why don't you just go ahead and take that opportunity and go find out? That's the
Yeah.
best way I can tell you. Go find out what it is that you can do. There are children that, so school is out here. What are our children getting ready to do? Go on social
Mm.
media. They have the portable computer in their hands. That's what they're going to do. And
Yeah.
on that site with social media, there should be some more people such as myself that open up to have conversations with them, spend time talking with them, giving them avenues of how they can go and help someone else. Teach our children to give of their time. Spend some time with them. Let them see what you're doing in that little special place that they feel comfortable and like, okay, you cool. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
That you can start teaching them how they can spend time with other youth and youth together. They communicate.
Yeah.
We're older, you know, so we have to. The Bible says to train up a child in the way they should go, and when they're old, they will not depart from it. So when you talk about training up a child, that doesn't mean going beating them and slapping them beside the head. No, that's talking about life, basic life, how to go from school to working in a job, how to communicate with people, not yeah, no, yes, thank you, those type of things, the basics. We
Yeah.
need to go back to the beginning when it comes down to that. And I encourage a lot of people that's listening to your podcast and anyone else, go to your local area DSS, Juvenile Detention Center, and say, hey, I want to volunteer. I need to volunteer. I want to be a piece of the puzzle that is helping and not distracting or pulling away from helping them.
Yeah. And it's definitely a powerful thing that one person can actually make a movement, and it's like all of the pieces matter. Now, if I had children that were in like the teenage years, um, you're in the grit, and a lot of the people coming to you though have traumas in their life, have been through some things and moving that through. And maybe not all these parents have children that have been through some of these experiences, but maybe these children know other children.
Yeah.
So if I'm a parent of like a teenage kid, what kind of advice would you give me just to keep the communication open? How do I keep getting my child to see things or to talk through things? Like how does that move through me?
Okay, so what I tell parents when it comes down to talking with their child, is that what you're talking about, the
Yeah,
parents?
yeah, yeah,
Okay. Yeah, so with the parents, with talking to their children to find out what their surroundings look like, I tell the parents, don't have that conversation at home. Don't do that.
mm,
Because the thing about it, we're in the house, this is where the rules are. Now you want to talk to me. Oh, okay. So I tell parents, go out to the movies with them.
mm,
Take some time and say, you know what, I want to go bowling. I haven't been bowling in a while. Let's go out bowling. And while you're in a different atmosphere, the energy is different,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So you can actually ease into a conversation with them that's very good. Um, a lot of times when I talk with my children, I act like I don't hear them when they say things. When they get going,
yeah,
I'll start drinking on something, but I'm listening. I'm like, yeah, okay. But I'm putting this in my brain. I don't want them to see my expression like, oh, really? And this is what you're doing. Because now they're open up. We went bowling a few weeks ago, and my daughter and I, we went with a group of people, and my daughter and I, we were just talking. I was like, hey, let me show you how to bowl the right way. And she was like, you really, mama, don't know how to bowl. And I'm like, yes, I do. I got this. I said, me and your dad, when we were dating, you see how I put that dating in there, right?
yeah,
So while we were dating, he would always show me stuff. And I said, I can show you some things. And I said, but I had to be careful because, I wasn't married to your dad. So I told him, be careful, don't touch me. So we were having little conversations like that. And here it is, we're having a conversation. She's like, yeah, my boyfriend, he touched me. And I'm like, for real though? And, I'm not upset, but in my mind, I'm like, oh, yeah.
yeah. Well, it's almost like you're guiding too, right? Like you're listening and you want to get them to keep opening up and creating that
Yeah.
safe space so that if and when something happens or something happens to their friends, they can come to you so you can start to honor this, right? I think so many people are just shut down and they're trying to just get through the day and they've forgotten about this in life, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had someone come to me and talk to me about their friend. Their friend was going through some abuse. Like you said, it doesn't have to be sexual.
Mm-hmm.
The parent was locking the child in the closet.
Mm.
And she was sharing it with me in regards to the child being, every time the child would cry out, they would lock the child in a closet as a punishment for this child. And this child was 7 years old. And I listened to her and I told her, I said, I have to be, she's a college student. I told her I have to be clear with you and let you know this. Even though you know this person and they are your friend, you need to report this. It's
Mm-hmm.
your responsibility. And I know you don't want to, but think about this. If they go further than locking the child in the closet, let's say now they're hitting on the child, and then you see on the news this child has brain damage because the parents are now throwing the child across the room like a baby doll. You will start thinking within yourself, if I could have,
If
if I
I
would
would have,
have.
yeah.
And I told them, you really have to share that. And I said, there is a way you can share it very discreetly, because social services do not give out names.
Right.
You can do that. And I told them, this is what you have to do. You have to do this.
Yeah. And it really is. And some people are like, well, it's not my responsibility, or I don't want to get involved. And it's like, who is protecting these kids?
Mm-hmm.
If it's their parents that are stepping into this, and I understand they're a child of God and they're in this space and all the things, but still, like, they're calling out for help and you can help them. And yeah, will it be hard? For sure. And will you need to make bold moves and have courage to step into that? Yeah, you will. But on the other side
Yeah,
of it, you could save someone's life.
right. I mean, as you mentioned, I am a minister. And one thing I say to people is this: there's another scripture in the Bible. If people would just read and not take it. But anyway, there's a scripture in the Bible that says, don't be so heavenly bound that you're not any good on this earth. Don't be
Mm,
so holy and religious that you feel, oh, well, God's going to take care of it. No, God's taking care of it by letting you see it and letting you hear it.
yeah.
So why don't you make the move? Because God's using you to do
You.
that. And
Yes.
I'm such a real minister. People just say, Michelle, you're so real. Yes, I am. I'm just going to tell you the truth.
Yeah. That's all we can do, as long as we keep spreading the message and we keep stepping into this and we keep having these conversations. And it's not like it's easy for you, I'm sure, to, like, well, maybe you've done it 7 times this week, but like stepping in to talk about it, talk about it, talk about it. But there's a fire and a light in you, and that fire
Yeah.
and the light is in this pathway to help illuminate for others and to move the barriers for others, right? To step in. And all of us have a light somewhere, some way, shape, or form. Each of us has a light to move forward within that light in this earth. And
Yes.
for you, you're shining it brightly in this perspective of a very, very dark scenarios. They're very dark,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's
Mm-hmm.
not like it's like this is like the airy fairy, all fluffy, positive podcast, but this is the real talk. And this is what needs to come out and be said. Like, we're about to step in to talk about sex trafficking and how this is actually happening in the world, and how so many people are not paying attention, and we can't not pay attention any longer. Like, it is such a dominant conversation to be
Ooh,
had today. And this isn't like the podcast that you're going to listen to and come out all feeling feels. This is the podcast calling you out right now to make a bold move and to speak a truth and to step into your space and to move something forward, or to go make the call you've been meaning to make and to help that person that you've been on your heart to do, but you haven't made a move yet. This is that podcast.
mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and as you know, it's not easy in the space that you hold and work within. And I'd love to move you into that sex trafficking conversation, because I think it's super important that people really understand that this is actually a thing and this is actually happening in the world.
Oh my God. It is really, really bad. Sex trafficking is, whew, it's so bad with social media today. So sex trafficking basically is slavery. Okay.
Yeah.
There's human trafficking and there is the sex trafficking. It's slavery interchangeably. So with the sex trafficking, there are predators that go out and they're grooming, looking for youth that are not in stable homes. They're looking to see if they're let's say at the mall, example scenario, your child is at the mall with their friends and they're hanging out, having a good time and everything. They're just casual shopping.
Yeah.
Here it is, you have a female predator. I won't use a male.
Mm.
Female predator that's in the mall. And she's following at a distance. She's watching your behavior. She can tell the ones that are feeling high about themselves and the ones that's kind of iffy. And that takes a very professional person to do that, right?
Yeah.
And so now you're getting to this person, you guys are in the same store, and she kind of bumps into you and she's like, hey, how are you? I'm so sorry about that. And now she's talking to you about life and things and how you like this piece of clothing, how you like these shoes, oh, how you like this purse, and da da da. And you know what? You're such a pretty person and you have such a beautiful smile. You know, I think what I'm going to do today is purchase this for you. And you
Mm.
know, if you have time, maybe every now and then, if it's okay with you, can I just check in on you because you're so beautiful, you're so sweet, and I know you don't know me, but I just something about you. Okay,
Mm.
there it
Yeah.
is, there it is. So now this person has now gotten your attention and they're inviting you to certain places and they're saying don't tell your parents where you're going because they may say, you know, why you hanging out with me, but they don't understand you. Okay.
Mm.
So they don't understand you. And I do. And I want you to know that when you come, we can go out and eat here, wherever you want to eat. If you want to drink, I don't mind if you want to drink. I mean, parents don't understand that every now and then the youth need to drink too. Okay. And so
Yeah.
now you have somebody that's smoking weed. Oh man, you come up to my house, you know, I smoke weed. Well, okay, well, come over, I'll let you do that. Now you drinking, you're smoking, they're doing everything for you. And then there's this point where they got you in.
Yeah.
What they do is now tell you everything you're gonna do what I asked you to do.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm not comfortable with having sex with somebody. Well, you're going to do it because you remember that day at the mall I bought you what you wanted? Do you remember all the times that I've taken you out to eat? Do you know about the times that I've shared with you liquor, alcohol, drug, whatever? If you don't do what I say, I will expose you to your mother, your sisters, your brothers, and they will hate you for the rest of your life. Now, you're
Mm.
telling this to a teenage child who already got emotions all over the place. And now you threw that big guilt bomb on them, and they feel like I just backed into the corner. And you're absolutely right. So now I got to do what you said, but how am I going to get out of this? Because I don't have anyone to go to. If I tell my friends, they're gonna be like that you're crazy, and they're gonna back up. They won't be my friends anymore. So now you have this happening when you're pushed in a corner to have sex with someone because of the guilt that you feel, and then it
Mm.
becomes a process where they actually can take you. You're in a house, and they're just like locking the door on and telling you you can't get out. Now
Yeah.
you cannot get out. You got bars on the window, the door is locked, and people are coming in a different location of the home where you're not able to come and see where they're coming in at because you're in a room
Yeah.
and they are giving you drugs so that you can be high and have multiple people have sex with you. And even though you don't like it, you don't have the strength to tell them to get off of you or move away because you're all doped up now.
Right.
It's so easy. They catch you on social media. I gave a scenario to some teenagers in high school. This guy reaches out to you on social media. They hit in your DMs and say, "Hey, you're a pretty good looking girl." This guy is like all over you and talking about how they see you at school and how good you look and they want to meet up with you. The question to them was like, I asked them, I said, what if a guy you haven't seen on campus and he shows you a picture of another person, it's not them, and they're like, this is me and I've seen you on campus, blah, blah, blah. So the girls were very smart. They said they would tell that person, meet me on A Hall or B Hall. I'm not meeting you after school. Meet me on the campus if you're really here. Then da da da. So what? You know, my friend, you can go on my Facebook page and see all my friends. And so they were very smart
Good.
young women
Yeah.
in that
Good.
class.
Yeah.
Yeah, 12th graders. All of them were real smart. I was like, you know what? I'm done here. I'm going home.
Yeah. Well, and we've got the educated, right? But we've also
Yeah.
got these scenarios of the manipulation, but we've also got scenarios where they're taking these youth and they never come back to their families. And there are so many organizations now that their main mission is finding these humans somewhere in the world that they've been taken to, because they will then put them in containers, put them on a boat, send them across the world to the other side to be manipulated and stuff too. So it's happening in our local communities. And
Yep.
then it's happening also too globally, like they're taking them and moving them and stuff. So
Yeah.
like it's,
Yeah. So
yeah.
yeah. So like on what I also learned is that Charlotte is number 9. North Carolina is number 9.
Wow.
We're number 9 as far as sex trafficking, and that's the last time I checked. I haven't been back up there to look at it. Last time I checked, we were number 9, and we're number 9 because we have I-85, I-95, and we can go right there. We're right there with the highway, and they can snatch a child up out of the park and hit the highway. We have so many options here of how they can hit the
Yeah.
highway. Go to Florida,
Yeah.
no problem. From Florida, they get on that boat, right, and
Yeah.
then they're gone.
Yeah.
And that's that. They travel all the time and looking for our kids. And listen, these people don't always drive a van. They could
Yeah.
be in a Mercedes. They could be in a nice truck or Hummer, whatever. It's not always the description that people want to put out there. They don't look like old people. They look like
No.
you and I. They're not a certain kind of people. They're
Yeah.
dressed in nice suits. They're executives. They're judges. They're lawyers. I'm telling you, I just
Yeah.
talked with a gentleman who was actually raped by a lawyer,
Yeah.
and his friend was a judge. How
Yeah.
do you handle that? How do you handle this? We have to step up the game.
Yeah.
I always tell people when there's a big event in your town, there those molesters are right there.
Yeah.
Those sex trafficking people are right there, and they have drug in those youth that they have captured, and they sell them like they're on a menu. So
Yeah.
this is how they do it. Do you want her tall? Do you want her short? Do you want long hair? Do you want short hair? Do you want Asian? Do you want Hispanic? Do you want black? Do you want white? How do you want it? It's a menu. And
Yeah.
you get that menu and tell them you are an upscale individual, and you're telling them you're going to pay $5,000 for one night with the youth, and that youth has to dress up a certain way, has
Yeah.
to look very spazzy and sexy, and they are doped up because you gave them something to drink, and
Mhm.
now they're drinking it, but they know in their mind, okay, here's another one.
Yeah.
And then they're tossed back into a dirty, nasty, filthy hotel once this particular event in your city is over with, and they're told to eat crap, and they're wanting somewhere to go. They can't tell the person that they're going to meet. They're like, okay, well, she wants to tell me, or he wants to tell me that they don't like this. Okay, you're going to get beat up when you get back.
Hmm.
Yeah, we
It's,
have to step up our game.
yeah, like, and this, and the thing that you said too, it's like, this is a real thing. Like, this is actually happening. And there's people and infrastructures that run governmental systems and stuff like that, that they are involved in a lot of this. And it's crazy to think that this is where life is, but this is real, like, and like paying attention, guys, when you're out in places, like, how can you pay attention? How do we move this needle forward and start speaking about this more and start protecting these youth? Like, because a lot of it is the youth, right? They're taken at somewhere between the ages probably of 12 to 18, probably, in those spaces, maybe older, maybe younger, but in those, because they're used specifically for sex. Like, they're used for that. Like, it's, oh, it hurts my
Yeah, they
heart.
are. I mean,
Mhm.
and it's younger than that. You picture a 7-year-old, 7 years old, 5 years old, and here it is, they're locked into a bedroom, or uh you see them. If you're an individual and you see something you don't think is right, something in your gut telling you this is something not right with them. This person walking beside this person, and they got their head down, they're looking around to see if there's a way that they can get out. You need to pay attention that you're at the airport, and this person's at the airport and they're sitting there right beside that person. They got their hands look like they're clutched to a cup of coffee beside them. They won't let them go anywhere, and they're looking like they're very scared or terrified. You have to pay attention to those things.
Yeah.
Those are the things you need to look for. It doesn't always have to be a child. It could be a young adult. I'm telling you, it's so many things that you have to look out for. There is a movie, can't think of the name of it now, but actually the judicial system was involved with this child being traveled all around to
Mm.
have sex with other people
Wow.
and other people. And this particular child thought that they were going to get to go back home, but they didn't go back home. The judge ruled that for this other family to have this child, and the other family was friends with the judge. And so the judge said, no, the family missed this or the family missed that. So now the child is walking out of the courtroom and have tears in their eyes. And I'm talking about this child was only 9 years old in
Oh
this movie.
man. Wow.
And so the parent kept fighting for their child, and she did not get her child back until the child was 22. The mom had actually took an overdose of pills the same day that the child was knocking at the door at the age of 22. I think it's called 6 years or something like that. But
Wow.
she barely made it to the door. And they actually, the officers that had been working with her for a long time, uh, was walking away with the daughter, and she was able to come and get that daughter, and that's how the movie ended with them crying. She worked her butt off to get her children back. I mean, her child back, and she went through a lot. That movie was very inspirational for me, so that I can keep doing what I
Mm.
need to do,
Yeah,
and
the
that's
work.
open my mouth and share this word.
Yeah. And I so appreciate your heart, Michelle, like, and really stepping into this space of bringing this message into the earth plane. It's not easy for us to talk about this, but this is so important for people to hear and feel and understand. And in the show notes, we're going to link up obviously the websites and stuff like that. And even if people, are seeing something, like where they may not know, like I want to make sure people have resources to be able to kind of find the answers, because like the more people paying attention, the more people are paying attention, and the more we can kind of stop this movement that's happening in the world and start to nip it and cut it in the dimensions that it's being played out. Because like it's not okay, the trauma these kids are going through. And then when like maybe they do get rescued and someone saves them, all the years after that they have to now work through in their own minds and get support with and step into that space. It's just,
Mm.
yeah, yeah,
It's really bad. There's a company that's on the website, and it's called Rain, Rainn, the double N. They have all the information that anybody would want.
okay, good.
It tells you the behavior changes in a child. They also share with you scenarios. They tell you about sex trafficking. They let you know the cities and the states that have the most. But
Mm,
Rain is they give you statistics. This organization is the best, in my opinion. I've worked
mm,
with other organizations, and Rain is the go-to even for them. But it's Rainn. If anyone is listening, go to that website. You will have so much information. On my website, I have information as well. On my site, I do post up about certain things when it comes down to certain children. I do post that about how the children look or representing, what's going on in the world today. I have
yeah,
some stories up there, have some videos up there on my site, and my site is Unbreakable Faith. That's the name of my website. Is spelled out U as in unicorn, N as in Nancy, B as in Bob, F as in Frank, T as in Tom, H as in Harry.com. Or you can just put in Unbreakable Faith Incorporated. It'll pop up.
yeah. And we'll
I'm
put in
pretty
the show
all up
notes
there.
too, like we'll have a link there so they can go there and
Yeah.
grab the link right away.
But
um
Rain is the best,
I'll
the
make sure
best.
I do rains
I'm
as
telling
well.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's awesome. Well, I feel like we've hit on quite a bit today in this conversation and opened up the Pandora's box to this conversation, which I think is exactly what is needed
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
collective that I serve for sure. Is there anything else that you want to add just to conclude off today, Michelle?
Well, no, I think, like you said, I think we hit on a lot of subjects. I would love to come back and be specific on one. Right now, I know that it's a lot that, that I shared today. It could be overwhelming for someone. I mean, even if you have had that happen to you in your life
Mm-hmm.
and you may have gotten a trigger from hearing this,
Mm-hmm.
you need to go and get some counseling. You have to
Yeah.
get counseling. Please do. It's not just the youth, adults are still dealing with this as well,
Mm-hmm.
and they have to get counseling. I am thankful that even though I didn't get counseling, God healed me. And I
Yeah.
can say that. I don't want you to say, well, God's going to do it if you're listening to this and you're saying, well, he's going to do it, or whoever is going to do it, whoever you worship is
Mm-hmm.
going to do it, or it's in the universe and I'll get healed eventually. No, again, we get signs in our lives. Hello, if
Mm-hmm.
we get a headache, we're going to take the medicine. If you're listening to this and you know you've been through it, hello, go get the help, go get the medicine. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that, and ending that beautifully. And also I think that we live with a lot of shame, in our lives with like certain scenarios happening to us. And part of like, especially if you had someone abusing you in your life that kept saying to you that you were wrong and that you're bad, and this was because you asked for it, and all the dimensions of that, you're holding a level of shame. And I just want to make sure that you hear us today and saying, like, you don't have to hold this any longer. It's time for you to let it go, and you can actually be and fully embodied in who you are and own your wholeness back. But you've got to do the
Mhm.
work and drop in.
Yeah,
So
gotta
yeah.
do the work.
Yeah. So, Michelle, thank you so much for the time. All the links will be in the show notes, guys. If you're really feeling this conversation, you want to help spread the word, because getting this out into the world may help save some lives. So, if you share a copy of this, tag us on social media, get it out for us, help us
Mhm.
really kind of lean into this. And we'll see you guys all in the next episode.